I wonder if any of you have the same problem that I have. And that is, on your birthday, and even on the occasional holiday, you experience a letdown. Now, those of you who don't have this problem, you'll be surprised. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because you're thinking, on your birthday or during a holiday, presumably, you're part of a celebration. You're doing fun things. How can you be let down? The answer is very simple. Unrealistically high expectations. For some reason, when there's a holiday or my birthday, I think it's got to be really special. And so I'll find myself planning what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, who I'm going to see, when I'm going to see them. And I put things in order, and I think, you know what, this is going to deliver a great day. But even when things go very well, according to plan, I can still feel let down. Things can feel a little stale. Unrealistically high expectations has a way of sucking some of the joy out of an otherwise memorable, remarkable day. Upon further reflection, I've come to understand that the same events that happen on my birthday or on a holiday, if it would just happen, say, on a random Wednesday in March, the experience would be different because the expectations wouldn't be so high. I'd probably look back and say, hey, remember that second Wednesday in March of last year? That was a pretty incredible day. I didn't see that coming. That was a really memorable day. Well, what's the answer? Well, I think we have to recalibrate. We have to readjust our expectations. But I think we also need to remember that some of the best experiences that we've ever had, some of the best days of our lives, are days that happen to us. Things happen that we could not plan for. Think about this. You can't roll out of bed and expect to meet a stranger and experience this connection where you're like kindred spirits, where you think, wow, I just met you, but it's like we've known each other our whole lives because we see the world in such a similar manner. You can't script that. You can't get up in the morning and expect to get a phone call out of nowhere from a recruiter that just happened upon your resume and thinks that you'd be a perfect fit for a certain job. You know what? These things just happen to us, or have this special encounter, this brush with the Holy Spirit. This happens when we least expect it. When I think about the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they are filled with stories of surprises, of things not going according to what we would expect, or expectations that people had in the first century as well. Think about one of Jesus' most famous Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, or he said, blessed are the humble, for they shall inherit the earth. And I think most of us would say, no, blessed are those who take the initiative. Blessed are the go-getters. Those are the ones who inherit the earth. And yet Jesus doesn't say that. We're going to be taking a look at a couple stories from Matthew's gospel in which we couldn't script what happened. According to Matthew's gospel, do you remember who the first person was who showed up to give honor to the newborn King, Jesus Christ? We might expect it to be a prophet of the Lord, right? Nope, it wasn't a prophet. We might expect there to be the chief priest and a lot of other high-ranking priests who would be present to be there to celebrate the coming of Jesus Christ. No, they're conspicuously absent. You might be confident that some members of the prevailing religious orders would definitely be present. Say like some Pharisees, some Sadducees, maybe even a token Essene. Nope. They're nowhere to be found. The first group of people who showed up to give honor to Jesus Christ were Gentiles, the Magi. Well, who were the Magi? Most of you are probably thinking they're a group of wise men. Excellent guess. Those of you who think they are three kings, nope, that's incorrect. Well, who were the Magi? Well, we're not totally sure, but there's quite a bit of background information on the Magi from historical sources that can kind of give us a little bit of a picture of who these men probably were. Magi is actually a Greek plural noun. It comes from a singular noun, magos. Magos, but when you have multiple of those guys, you have the Magi. One of the sources I read said that the first Magi were men who were part of a priestly caste from the Persian Empire, and one of their main functions was to serve as advisors to the king. Over time, Magi came to refer to any group of men who specialized in astrology or astronomy or interpreted dreams or were involved in sorcery and magic. One source even says that they studied the physical sciences. But these were very learned men. And the Magi who showed up to give honor to Jesus, we can at least be very confident that they were familiar with what was going on in the heavens. They probably were involved in astronomy or astrology, so much so that they could pay attention and recognize when something out of the ordinary was going on in the heavens and know how to interpret it. They followed this star to Jerusalem. I'm going to pick up reading in Matthew chapter 2, verse 1, where we shift immediately from an angel of the Lord who announces to Joseph who Jesus was going to be to the arrival here of the Magi. Matthew chapter 2, verse 1. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who's been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." That was a popular view in the ancient world, that when a very important king was born, it would be his coming would be heralded by things going on in the heavens. And so these Magi correctly understand that a very important king has been born in Israel. And so they do what's logical. They follow the star to Jerusalem. They seek out the royal family. Verse 3, when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Uh-oh. Must have been pretty awkward, pretty embarrassing. I mean, you would think it would be pretty safe to bet, hey, let's go to Jerusalem. That's where the king of Israel is. And there we'll find this newborn king. No, it didn't happen that way. Jesus was not born into the line of Herod. He was born into the line of David. But there's no one from the line of David who was serving on the throne at that point. Verse 4, gathering together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he, that is Herod, inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They said to him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for this is what has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the leaders of Judah. For out of you shall come forth a ruler who will shepherd my people, Israel. Then Herod secretly called the Magi and determined from them the exact time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search carefully for the child. And when you found him, report to me, so that I too may come and worship him." After hearing the king, they went their way, and the star which they had seen in the east went on before them until it came and stood over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. It's like, hey, we finally found him. After coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell to the ground and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned by God in a dream not to return to Herod, the Magi left for their own country by another way. The very people that we would expect, who would be anticipating the coming of the Son of David, the Son of God, were completely caught off guard. And we find that it is Gentiles who were ready, Gentiles who showed up and gave honor to the newborn king. This story of the Magi reminds us that the scope of Jesus Christ's sovereign rule would not be limited to Israel, but would go out and encompass the entire world, the Gentiles as well. But this story of the Magi also introduces to us a recurring theme throughout the Gospel of Matthew, and that is this: those that we would expect to get it, to understand what was going on, are often at a loss. But those that we would expect to be clueless actually possessed keen insight into the identity of Jesus and what he was actually up to, what he was accomplishing. Those people that we would expect to be insiders, we often find to be outsiders, and vice versa. And as I think about this theme, it pops up especially in this one story in Matthew chapter 8, after Jesus has begun his public ministry. Jesus has arrived in Capernaum, and there is a Roman centurion that comes up to him. It's almost certainly a Gentile, comes up to Jesus and asks him to heal his servant. And Jesus is ready to do this. But the centurion kind of halts Jesus. He's like, look, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. How does Jesus react to this faith of this outsider, so to speak, or a man that many would view as an outsider of the kingdom of God? Well, we find our answer in Matthew chapter 8, verse 10. Now when Jesus heard this, he marveled and said to those who were following, "Truly I say to you, I've not found such great faith with anyone in Israel. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and recline at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." And Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, it shall be done for you as you have believed." And the servant was healed that very moment. Wow. Talk about a reversal. A reversal. The sons of the kingdom. Yeah, we would be confident that they, in the last days, will be reclining at the great banquet with the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And yet we find they're the ones who are booted out. But these Gentiles who will be coming from the east and the west, they will be there. An incredible reversal. Do you believe this story of the Magi and the theme that it introduces has any relevance for your life today? If so, what is that relevance? I know for myself, if I were to answer this question, I would dust off and resuscitate a very old cliche. Don't put God in a box. Don't put God in a box. There's so much that we know about him from the scriptures. We know things about him from our own personal experience. We know things about him from church history and from reason. However, the Lord will surprise us. We can count on that. He will surprise us. So it's very important for us to be willing to readjust our expectations for how we believe our life should unfold, how the church should be run, how other people should live their lives. You never know what the Lord is going to do. But I can guarantee you, there will be numerous instances in our life in which the Lord will surprise us. We'll be caught off guard. So instead of fighting it, kicking against the goads, let's follow him wherever he leads. Let's readjust and adjust our expectations, the way we think things need to go, and follow him. Because as we follow him, that's where we find abundant living. God bless you, and Happy New Year.